The Dallas-Fort Worth community always says yes to supporting elementary students, and now that yes can win you a brand new 2022 truck. DFW Yes provides school supplies to more than 78,000 students across Texas. Give your yes today by purchasing raffle tickets in our Drive Away for Education truck raffle sponsored by Thomas J. Henry. The grand prize winner will choose from a new Ram, Chevrolet, GMC, Ford, or Nissan truck. Plus, you could win a shopping spree or gas card. Purchase your raffle ticket today at dfwyes.org.
The state championships are here. And so we are going to preview them as best as we can, and in the only way that we know, which is with nonsense.
Yes.
So here's what we're going to do. Let me see if I can get this.
Here's how the nonsense
works.
works.
First of all, do we have first four through the door?
We sure do. It was, let's see, Nick Morton, Rob Hadaway, Aaron Arbuckle, and Ed McElroy. Welcome in, fellas. Everyone very excited for state. Ooh, goodness, that messed up.
Oh, wow, that's very bright. That's not going to work. Anyway, we won't do that. Goodbye. We won't do that. I thought that was gonna work. I'll just keep track of it on here. But here's what we're gonna do. Okay.
You could, if you pull up a notes tab and you have it black background, it works.
Okay. Well,
it's just the white washes it out.
But I don't know if I can cast that. That's the problem.
Oh, yeah, we're getting too technical here.
Yeah, we're getting too technical. Anyway, here's what's gonna happen. We're gonna have a UIL state championship game draft.
Let's do it.
Okay. So here's what we're gonna do. We're going to have a snake draft. Ish has the first pick, Pickle has the second pick, and I have the third pick.
I just learned that right now. Okay.
Me too.
Because I just made it up.
Don't take my pick.
I could lie to you guys and say I flipped a coin, but I didn't. And so we're going to have a three-sided coin. It's Dungeons and Dragons coin. We're going to go around snake draft style.
Okay.
And select the games that we are most looking forward to this weekend.
Okay.
Okay? So if you are, and it can be any game for whatever reason. It doesn't have to be like, oh, this is like going to be the best prospects, or I think this is going to be the closest game. This is personal opinion.
Okay.
Only personal opinion. What you are most excited about.
So vibes is a perfect reason.
Oh, 100%. In fact, I would encourage you guys to go almost entirely off of vibes.
Okay.
I think that vibes are an important part of this thing.
That's a good background for vibes.
That is a good background for vibes. Let's see if we can do this. That's not going to work. I don't think so. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go snake draft style, games that you are most excited about for the state championships coming up this week. And herewith, pick 1-1 of the 2022 UIL Texas High School Football State Championship game draft.
Chung chung.
Is Ishmael Johnson.
This one's a no-brainer for me. Friday night.
Oh!
7 p.m.
Good vibes.
5A, D2, South Oak Cliff, PNG. Operation, according to Coach Jason Todd, Operation 60,000 is in effect. South Oak Cliff already planning to rock the All Blacks. Going for that record. They flat out said, with PNG there as well, South Oak Cliff, we know last year can fill up a stadium. PNG absolutely is going to travel up as well. You're going to build up to that Friday atmosphere. I'm going to go ahead and say it just based off, it might not be the cleanest game, right? As we've seen South Oak Cliff's offense this year. They're going to try to make this muddy, so it might not be the most appealing 48 minutes.
Yes.
But atmosphere, everything will keep that game going. You got East Texas versus, or I guess the Triangle versus DFW, South Dallas. Come on now. I think you're going to have a rockin' stadium. And if a 5A D2 game gets close to the title, the record, that's going to be wild. Because typically we were like, oh, it's going to be 6A, or if like a Longview, a big 5A school like Longview or something gets in, that's when it gets close to that number. But Operation 60,000 is going to have a chance.
It's going to have a chance because if you guys are unfamiliar with Port Neches Groves, I would put them in the same category as Longview and Cuero, in that it's a big enough town that there's a lot of them. And they're all nuts.
Sure.
Like they're just it's a community of crazy people. That are going to be descending upon AT&T Stadium, and we already know what Sock's going to bring. Like that's in many respects that's the known commodity.
Yes.
And by the way, last year Liberty Hill traveled really well for that game.
They brought a great crowd too.
So I had said it on the pre-show, but when I just got off a phone call with Coach Buck from Aledo, and Shay Walker, who was doing color for that game, had talked to him about, last year and missing it and blah, blah, blah. And Buck was given huge credit to Coach Todd, and they kind of got off on a little tangent about that. But Buck goes, hey, what day is that game? And they said, well, it's Friday night. And he goes, PNG, they still bring a crowd like they used to. And he started telling a story back from 1989 when he was coaching down at Consolidated, and he was like, we showed up for just a regular game and there was 30,000 of them there, and they were beating the drums, and he was like, it was insane. He goes, they might break the record. So it's spreading for through everybody.
They might, and so it is it is a big doings. That is it. That's an excellent first pick. Let's see if I can do this.
Yeah, I believe PNG's Twitter also quote tweeted Todd.
They did.
Yeah, saying let's do it.
Let's do it. We're all in favor of this.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yes, let's all get to 60,000. That's not going to work. Anyway. Oh, wait, hold on. This is going great.
That's not bad. That's better than what it was.
There you
Better
go.
than what?
Okay, yeah, that's good.
We can make
that
this
works.
work. Dismiss that. Good. Okay. Pickle, your first pick of the draft.
I am going to go. This is more actual football vibes here, but two crowds that will travel well: 4AD1, China Spring, and Bernie.
Yeah.
Very, very, very excited from this. One, I think that if we're going off of vibes of a stadium being pretty full for a 4A Division I game, I think both of these teams travel pretty well. But I think this is going to be a fireworks factory. There's a couple of these games that I think are going to be more like defensive battles, which if that's what you're into, that's great. Mm-hmm. But from a neutral fan perspective of wanting to see a fireworks factory, I think that this has potential. I saw China Spring last week, and I am impressed by their offense. I'm interested to see if their defense can slow down Bernie. But that China Spring offense against the Bernie defense is the matchup that I'm really – I think that might be the biggest football matchup that I'm most excited to see, strength on strength positioning-wise.
And here to flex on everybody, because he was the early adopter on Bernie, is Ishmael Johnson.
Listen, I was the very much first in line in the office when it came to that Bernie defensive line. I agree with Pickle when it comes to an on-field game. Mm-hmm. This is the one I'm looking forward to most as well. This was my second in line for my pick. The Bays brothers have been just incredible for Bernie on offense, but Braden Bays on defense, that defensive line has just been stellar. I saw them again when just completely take Cal Allen out of the game. They couldn't run the ball like they wanted to. We know Cal Allen opened the offense up this year. They had no time to throw. When I saw them there, I was like, this team has a great chance to beat Chapel Hill and then potentially win state. And then they just destroyed Chapel Hill.
They didn't just beat Chapel Hill.
Yeah.
They drilled them.
Mm-hmm.
That was very impressive. Maybe the most impressive semifinal performance? I mean, Mart over Burton is up there, too.
DeSoto over Geyer.
DeSoto over Geyer.
But Bernie over Chapel was probably second for me.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they were insanely impressive. And like she mentioned, reigning state champs in China Spring, new coach, new quarterback, doesn't matter, right? Their offense is still humming, and they look really good.
It's a three-headed monster with Cash McCollum, Trey Exline at the wide receiver spot, and then Trey Hafford.
Yeah. Tristan Exline.
Exline, sorry, and Trey Hafford.
Trey Hafford, yes.
TRE. No way. But it's a three-headed monster. It's a lot of – Mallory and I genuinely had – that China Spring Decatur game was really fun. Mm-hmm. Really, really fun state semifinal game.
So I've got the third pick, and I get two picks in a row. And I'm going to be very –
That's why he did that.
I'm going to be very thoughtful about what I do here. The first one, I just want big boy football. Let's go the final game of the year with Duncanville and North Shore. Okay? How can you not get excited about this game again? Especially considering – stop doing that. There you go. Especially considering what North Shore did to Westlake.
Yeah.
Because I think there was because going into that game, I mean, I picked Westlake because I'm not picking against a 54-game winning streak.
Sure.
But also it's just all right, this is a wounded offense on North Shore going up against an elite defense. Mm-hmm. This is just this is the end of the road. This Westlake defense, which has been so good the past 5 years, basically. Mm-hmm. This is when they're going to slam the door. And then they hung half 100 on them.
Insanely impressive.
Shock.
Yeah.
Shocking, not because we don't think North Shore is good, but shocking because of how good Westlake's defense has been.
Yes. And they've also, North Shore's rolled out 3 offenses basically this year.
Yeah.
Right. They, of course, started the year with Caleb Bailey. They threw David Amador back there when Bailey went down, and they put Amador back at wide receiver when they found a new quarterback. And so it's they've literally rolled out 3 versions of this offense this year, and they're alternating. They've kind of, in the playoffs, they've kind of alternated between the 2, Amador, and I forget the kid's name that they're rolling out now.
Evan Jackson.
Evan Jackson.
He was the one who had that crazy punt return.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And so they've rolled. So I like that they found that because they realize Amador is so versatile.
Touchdown, Dave.
And so they realize he's so versatile that they put him at wide. They don't want to take him away from wide receiver.
Yeah.
Right. They know that he can be a great quarterback if they need him to be. But also, if they have an arm, let's put him back at
I was
receiver
gonna
and
say-
don't change things too much.
It genuinely feels like they went into practice and they were like, all right, 5 of you line up, throw the football. Which one of you is best? Because
Right.
we need Dave over there.
Yes.
You know, we'll get you in every now and then, but we need one other weapon. And, of course, John Kay had plenty.
Had plenty. It is a fascinating. And then Duncanville, what they did to,
Yeah, I was about to say that was not a game.
and they are looking fantastic. That and again, all of the things that we talk about when North Shore and Duncanville play are factored in again. Unbelievable line play on both sides, and then outstanding individual playmakers. I think this is if you are just if you're a running back nerd, this game. Between Caden Durham, and then you've got.
I'm excited to see Caden Durham in person.
Yeah, and then you've got
absolutely.
DeAndre Hardiman and Rashad Johnson on the plus Amador obviously who can take off and run with it as well. This game is going to be physical and fascinating. And to me, what's so interesting, I think there's another interesting thing about this, which is it's the Todd Peterman factor.
Yeah,
Todd Peterman.
that is gonna be a storyline.
Is the offensive coordinator at Duncanville, and the hashtag is Let Peterman Cook. He's gonna unload the bag in this one. He's and so what
it's
does he have?
It's the 4th time in a row. You feel like there's got to be something changing with this time around.
You'd
Do
have
y'all
to.
think we're gonna get a? I mean, the way that they both played last week, it feels like we should get some sort of a shootout. To a certain degree, I'm talking at least because here's what the thing is. Last year, it was 14-7, 14-10.
17-10 was the final.
Yeah, it was and that scoring didn't come until really
No.
late in the game. It feels like it needs to be a little bit more than that. Maybe in that 35-28, 28-21. I feel like it'll be a little bit more pointsy than last year, but not crazy.
Okay, I do not think it's going to be the Hail Mary game, which was in the high 30s.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be there. I think it's going to be closer to 2019, which was, I want to say 28-17.
Was it the Parsons year?
The
Yes.
Parsons year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say it's 28-17. I think it's going to be
I think
between
it's
the
about
Hail
there.
Mary year in 2018
Yeah.
and between the 2021 year, which is a real low scoring
Yeah,
slugfest.
17 to 28. Any possible points of numbers in between there?
I see that because that's not what Duncanville does, right?
No.
They don't spread the game out. They don't open the game up. And when you go back to that Hail Mary year and even last week, those big plays always came on the ground, right? It was Jaquin Jackson breaking a couple of plays in 2018. It was, Caden Durr. It was all these guys just breaking huge plays and on the ground. And North Shore is not a team that lets up a 60-yard run unless you have a Jaquin Jackson like they had in 2018. So I just don't think. I don't know. I think Duncanville knows where their favorability lies.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to want to get into that type of game with North Shore.
It's fascinating, the 4th installment of these two. Before we get to round 2, Pickle, why don't we pay some bills? Here's a word from our friends at VCR Now.
Born and bred in Texas hits a little different, as it should. Texas loves doing business with fellow Texans. VCR Now takes its Texas roots as seriously as its many partnerships with schools and universities around the state. It's also why we're so proud to promote our brand in the pages of the Texas Bible, Dave Campbell's Texas Football, and on the airwaves of Texas Football Today. Driven by producing quality broadcast video, state-of-the-art audio, and LED video scoreboards at affordable prices, VCR Now makes sure to listen to your needs in its athletic department before recommending the next best steps. Building great products is our business, and it's our focus on building meaningful long-term partnerships with our clients that sets us apart. From our 24/7, 365-day help desk, the training lab in our hometown of Red Oak, or our sports marketing business plan that puts money back in the hands of our athletic departments we support, VCR Now is built to last. Reach out to us today at info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW. Again, that's info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW.
We roll on with our UIL state draft. Greg Tepper, Ishmael Johnson, Ashley Pickle. I've got my second pick here in round 2. There's a few different ways I could go. I think what I'm going to do... I'm going to pull... Yeah, I told you guys what I was going to do, and I lied to you.
Of course.
I lied to you.
On brand.
Yeah. Let's go 11 a.m. Thursday as the Hawley Bearcats take on the Refugio Bobcats. And in the 2A Division I state championship game. And Hawley's back again. They've looked dominant. They have, I thought what they did last week was very impressive in a real just sledgehammer matchup with Crawford. Did Crawford find something that works offensively against Hawley? We'll find that out. But this is a team that I think has really grown from last year's state championship loss. I think they're throwing the ball better with Rhodey Hooper. I think having Austin Compton back is so important to them. It gives them that kind of balance offensively, and their defense has been largely very good. Here's Refugio, who's coming off of winning Region 4 and then continuing the Region 4 dominance of Region 3. A 10th straight year that Region 4 beats Region 3 as they win on a last-second field goal. The second straight week that they win a one-score game against a state-ranked top 3, basically, team. They beat Timpson. Refugio's the faster team pretty clearly in this game because they're one of the fastest teams in the state. And what I am so interested in doing is how does Hawley mitigate that speed disadvantage? And can and what does Refugio do with guys like edge rusher Deontay Ramon? There's a lot of real interesting dynamics here. The other thing about this is that for the first time in what feels like a long time, Refugio will not be the team with the big game, the AT&T Stadium experience. Because the last time they were here was 2019 when these seniors were freshmen. So some of them were on the team.
Was that when they beat Post, right?
When they beat Post or Crawford?
Post. I think it was Post.
Yeah.
Because we were at that semifinal.
Yes, Post.
The Antelopes.
So this is Hawley's. Everyone's back from last year. Like all these guys played at AT&T Stadium. Yeah, they lost, but like I am fascinated by this.
They're healthy this year
They're
too.
Healthy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Compton being back. Yeah.
Yeah. My key to. I'm very curious how Refugio handles Chandler Myers.
Yes.
6'3", right? He's not a guy that you typically see at this level, right? With this athleticism and this size. And Refugio, more or less, unless they play a Shiner or a Timpson, more or less has the bigger players.
Yeah.
Right?
Like physically bigger.
Physically bigger players. So, I don't know. I would go with Refugio in this one. And I'm very fascinated by this game because Hawley isn't the team that kind of, I don't say they scrapped their way, but we probably thought Marlin would be there last year, right?
Yeah.
And they knock off Marlin. And so it was kind of like, again, and then they were heavy underdogs. This is a more even matchup, but I still think Refugio is going to come out on top. But I don't know. Somebody like Myers gives me pause.
The game breaker for me is going to be Ernest Campbell, the running back. I'm calling him a running back is probably disrespectful. He's just the athlete there for Refugio. He's the fastest player in 2A. That's not an opinion. He's the 2-time defending 2A 100-meter champion. And so can Hawley bottle him up?
Sure.
Well, and I'm interested to see it, too, because when I talked to Jason Herring last night, and he was like, yeah, the way that this is all a bunch of really young players, but they got their swag back in them. They were like, oh, they remembered their Refugio. This is what they do. I feel like Hawley's a team that's not going to be scared about that.
No.
A lot of teams would see Refugio and go, oh, crap.
Well,
Holly wants to knock anyone's teeth out, and they're all older kids that have been there.
and to be there, the fact that they were there last year is such an equalizer
It's a flex,
to me.
yeah.
They had to tackle Doug Brooks last year.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah, like Doug Brooks ain't there. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
Like, okay, like they're like
Yeah, the
and
man-child.
certainly,
Right.
certainly I'm
Refugio
not-
does not have a man-child.
No.
That's
if
for
he is,
sure.
he's playing like left
Yeah.
guard or
Left guard,
something.
yeah.
and I'm certainly not accusing Holly of being like of having like happy to be here attitude last year, but like last year it was a bit of a surprise for them to be here. This year was expected, and so that to me is a great equalizer. Refugio to me, the speed is overwhelming, and the speed advantage is going to be significant.
They're very small in their lines too.
Yeah.
Like Holly
Sure.
is going to outmuscle them up
Yeah.
front, so that will help when it comes to
Yeah.
Ernest Campbell being speedy.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting. I like Holly and Refugio.
Okay.
Ashley Pickle, your second pick.
I'm gonna go 3:00 on Thursday. 3A Division 1, Brock and Franklin.
That's the night game.
7 p.m.
Gosh darn it.
I know they flip Division 1, Division 2 every year, so it's
Anyway.
it's 7 o'clock.
Is it? Oh yeah, yeah. That's right.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
D1. It's D1 first or D2 first this year.
Anyway, whenever that game's going to be played, I'm going to be looking forward to it. I am very, very interested to see this because I love watching Franklin play. Like, I guess if you're not a fan of the slot T, that's fine, but you have to respect how well they run it. Bryson Washington and Jaden Jackson have been absolutely outstanding for Franklin. But I think that this might be Franklin's best test, and Franklin's been plenty battle tested. But after seeing what Brock did to Malakoff last week and just being a very, very good defensively led team, which is not usually you think of Brock and you think pointsy, like always have been.
Yeah.
This defense looks really good, and I just feel like they schemed really well against Malakoff, and we've talked about it a lot in the office. It'll be interesting to see how they flip it. Has Malakoff, they took off the edges. Can they take off the middle, which is what they're going to want to do against Franklin? But I am very excited to see this one.
Because you were at the Malakoff Brock game, and so you got to see this Brock defense up close and personal.
Yeah, Malakoff had the athleticism edge on the outsides, wide receivers, and Brock basically limited the game to 4 deep shots that, some Malakoff receivers probably want those passes back, but they limited basically the entire offense to those shots. Offensively, they kind of reverted back to Brock of old, which is just like run up the, like kind of we're
Real
just going to go,
grimy.
we'll go
We're going
inside
to
zone,
shove it down.
we'll go inside zone, we'll go counter, and we'll, let Reed Watkins kind of just handle the whole game plan. And he shouldered a lot. I believe he also had a pick in that game. He was stellar on both sides of the game, both sides of the ball. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of Reed Watkins, I'm assuming. This Brock, me and Pickle saw this Brock team when they played Hershey, and when they started off 0-3, 0-4, 0-4, like we still said that's probably the toughest non-conference schedule, non-district schedule in the state, and this team's still really good. And look at this, they're back at state. Sure, they haven't been throwing the ball maybe as well as they wanted to. Like last year, I think they were a better passing team than they have been this season, but I still think they're gonna face they're gonna match up really well with this Franklin team. But I agree that this Franklin team's also gonna be in more of the Hershey mold, which is the athletes that maybe are able to break this game open against them. So
and that's
we'll see.
the thing. What's so interesting is that Malakoff game, Malakoff could not set the edge and get their athletes on the outside.
Sure.
Like they could not. They wanted to run outside the tackles. They wanted to beat you to the corner and go, and they just wouldn't let that happen. Franklin wants to play in a phone booth.
Sure.
Like Franklin wants to line it up and be like, let's run off.
They want Bryson Washington to come out of the cloud of dust and go for 40 yards. Yeah.
Going. Exactly. And so this is a real test. And this is also, is this the best defense Brock has faced? It's one of them. Like probably since Gunner.
Gunner. I was gonna say Gunner, probably outside of Gunner. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Franklin.
Yeah.
I think we go so gaga over their Franklin's ability to run the ball and stuff like that. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's fun to watch, and they got athletes. Like their defense is nasty.
Yeah.
What they did last week against Edna was very impressive.
I just have this. I just have this little feeling in my gut that if any game is going to come down to that crazy spectacular last play, that it could be this one. I genuinely feel that way.
And I do wonder. Brock's they're a little snake bit at AT&T recently.
They are.
They won that first title.
They've never won it at AT&T.
That's right.
They
It was
won
at
it in
NRG. Yeah, that's a good
2015.
point. So they're a little snake bit. They faced that Rockdale team. They faced last year Lorena, And that was
And
that it?
I would say they
Right.
were I would say they were favored over Rockdale.
Yeah.
They were. It's probably pick 'em against Lorena.
I was about to say they weren't. I wouldn't count. I
would need
wouldn't
to go
count them
back
as
and
a
look at our
huge favorite,
predictions.
but
I would say it was probably split
Yeah.
between us.
yeah.
Um,
So they got some demons exercise in AT&T.
all right, here
So-
with his to close out round 2 with the 6th overall pick.
All right,
Ishmael Johnson.
y'all let me have
I
6AD2.
knew this was gonna happen.
DeSoto, Vandegrift.
You're
We were-
welcome.
we were-
Give
we were
me-
leaving it open for him.
Give me Saturday at 3 p.m.
I know that's your Austin team.
Listen, Vandegrift, Drew Sanders first. Look, I'm a huge fan of Drew Sanders. I'm a huge fan of this Vandegrift program. First time at AT&T. It's very awesome to see them break through. DeSoto has their own history with not getting to AT&T, also getting to AT&T, obviously, with Todd Peterman when they won, but also having a reputation of not getting to AT&T.
Yeah.
They get past it. This is going to be, I don't know. I am very fascinated with this defense of Vandegrift versus Jonte Cook and Bailey and that DeSoto offense. I wonder how the DeSoto secondary guards somebody like a Miles Coleman, who is one of the most explosive players in 6A,
Yes.
pound for pound, if we're being honest. I saw this Vandegrift team. I've seen them twice this year. I saw them against Judson in the area, I couldn't remember. I think it was area, or I think it might have been by district. Regardless, I saw them put down a very athletic Judson team very comfortably. This front seven for Vandegrift's really stellar. Yeah, I think this is going to be a very fascinating matchup. And yeah, I don't know. I think the environment's going to be great too, because of course you're going to have DFW showing out early because DeSoto, Duncanville back to back. So I think you're going to have that casual crowd get there early. So
I think it's going to be great. I thought we mentioned the most impressive semifinal performances. I thought what DeSoto did last week,
that was
and it's not just because they shut down Jackson Arnold and shut down that offense.
right.
That's part of it.
Mhm.
But what's more impressive to me is that they were up 27-6, was it?
Mhm.
27-6, 27-7. I mean, they were up big. It was, 26-7 was what it was. And then suddenly you look up and beginning of the fourth quarter, it's 26-21.
Mhm.
And all of us.
We were like, oh, it's
were
happening
like,
again, right? We've seen
DeSoto
this happen with
eliminating-
DeSoto, right? We've seen this happen with them.
It's just that's what they do. Like
Yeah.
they're going to get pushed to the brink and they're going to crumble.
Yep.
And if I will be darned if they did not just have a counterpunch,
Yeah.
but a knockout punch.
They took the foot off the gas and was like, oh, I can push that
Never
again.
mind.
yeah.
That was supremely impressive and very different from what we've seen from DeSoto. Vandegrift, say this about Vandegrift, they ain't gonna be scared.
No.
They're not gonna play scared. They
They
face down.
didn't play scared against Katy.
They face down Katy.
Yeah.
No offense to DeSoto, but if you're not playing scared in a state semifinal against Katy, you're not playing
Katie's
scared
a
when you make it
9-time
into
state champion,
yeah.
of course.
I was gonna say the thing that's most intriguing about this one for me is I think that you would be lying if you said that these were the two teams that we thought we were gonna see here. We made
yeah.
projections
That's
and
fair.
I got both of these wrong because I assumed that we would see
Yeah.
the other side of it, and that was wrong of me to think that, obviously.
I
But-
got both these wrong.
Yeah, but I love the. No offense to Duncanville North Shore, we've seen this. This is the fourth rendition of this. To see a team that. Two teams playing against each other that we didn't think would be here, that makes it fun for us.
It
Yep.
is. Yeah, that's what's fun. Is party crashers.
Just new teams. New
team,
teams,
new
yeah.
blood.
Yep.
It's fun. It's gonna be fun. All right, we're gonna kick off round 3-ish. You have your.
By the way, I
seventh
picked Vandegrift to come out of the region, so I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Ish, move on to your next pick.
Anyway,
No one
And you
asked
know what, Pickle?
you.
I'm starting to come around to your opinion of Ish.
Yeah, a stinky.
some people are fans of Drew Sanders on this show.
A stinky.
All right.
I text. By the way,
Uh.
you guys should know that I texted him on. I guess it was Saturday.
You
So
put
I
me in the
texted him.
message.
Yeah, I put you in the message. I said the state of the Vipers is strong. He comes with and does the state of the Vipers address with us as coaching school every year. All right.
Yep.
What's your 7th overall pick?
All right, my 7th overall
By the way,
pick.
we should say now that we're in the back half that all these games are good and we're excited about all of them.
I was about to say,
This
I'm
is
not. This isn't
is
like,
not
oh, this
we're not
game
picking
stinks.
Children,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
I was about to say,
we're
yeah.
We're vibing. What's
Yeah.
next?
Give me 382, Gunner and Poth.
Good
Give
one.
me that offense.
you are
I'm
such-
such a stand for that offense, that pistol option, whatever they want to call it, flex bone thing. I love it.
Hey, I like that thing that you do.
Yeah, I love that offense. It's great. And again, we talk about new blood. I like seeing Poth here. right? We love San Antonio area, I guess you can say.
Polish country, baby.
Yeah, exactly. I like seeing new teams. And, of course, we kind of always pencil in one side being Gunner Canadian, right? So it's like, okay, that's kind of marked off as taken that spot. But seeing Poth emerge out of that other side is very fascinating. I'm curious to see this Poth defense go up against this type of offense. And because it's always, unless you are Canadian, you don't see this offense ever, right? This isn't the slot T where you can call somebody up and kind of be like, oh, we played a team that ran the slot. No one runs this offense in the state. And so I want to see how you game plan for this. I want to see how Gunner game plans against a team like Poth, but it's hard to – I don't know. Gunner, I feel like strength of schedule-wise, Gunner's obviously had the tougher road with Canadian, with Brock in non-district, things like that. But still, you never know what happens when Gunner's been stunned before in the playoffs, and so
in AT&T.
Yeah, and in AT&T, and so I don't know. I'm very fascinated by this, and of course, I got to make sure that I get this offense on my draft. So
that's fair. Well, and it's funny because when I was going to take it, I was going to do it for the opposite reason. I love Poth's defense, and I remember Ish and I were driving to one of the football games that we went to. I don't know. It was like week 3 or 4 where it was a Thursday night game and we're heading out there and we were doing we went through each bracket on the drive there and just talked about okay, 4 weeks in, who could we see doing this? And I was like, I'm telling you, I love that Poth defense. And then looking back at it, I was like, I was on that bandwagon all along with that defense.
And here's the thing about Poth, and that I think is such an interesting matchup in this game. Poth is huge. Poth is physically large. They are big boys up front. And Gunner hasn't had to deal with a ton of teams that are just giants.
Yeah, that's true.
Poth is big, and so that's going to be a real challenge for them. And what you're going to get from this Poth offense is a lot of quarterback run game with Zane Robbie, and then they got a great receiver in Matthew Bunn that they're going to flex out and kind of get him the ball in a variety of different ways. I think this is a really interesting
Honestly, Brock might be one of the biggest teams that they've gone up against.
Might be.
And they're they're reasonably sized, but they're not huge, not like Poth.
They're big and beefy, and so it's going to be a real challenge for Gunner. Like how does that because Gunner's never huge,
right?
They're quick. Like the reason their defensive line is so good is they just beat you to the gap. You know what I mean? How do they handle just like a giant offensive line, for example? It would be really, really interesting to see. That's a good pick. Pickle, what is the eighth overall pick? Your third pick.
All right, I'm going to go with. We're going Wednesday action, the second game. Westbrook versus Abbott. We're going down into the 6-man ranks. Say what you will about 6-man. I enjoy watching 6-man ball at the state championships. I think it's fun. I do. I get a good kick out of it. Could I do 12 games of it? No, probably not. But can I do 2 games of it? Love it. I have written a cover boy article over Cedric Ware, the superstar out of Westbrook.
He's a man-child.
He is a man-child. He's a really, really awesome, good, well-spoken kid. I enjoyed talking to him. I've enjoyed watching him play for Westbrook. And then on the other side of it, it's Coach Terry Crawford and his Abbott Panthers. Incredibly excited to see him. That's a great coaching matchup between Homer Matlock and Terry Crawford. It's hard to get a better coaching matchup than that. But Mason Hale has been outstanding for Abbott, but more importantly, seeing Cedric Ware go up against that Abbott defense, that's what I'm most intrigued by, because this Abbott defense has been legitimately good, and that's not something you hear from 6-man ball very much. Very good defense on Abbott that I'm excited for.
Both these defenses are pretty good, and you're right. Cedric Ware's going to be the best player on the field. Mason Hell stepped in a big way because they lost their starting running back, Riley Sistala, either early playoffs or late regular season, and he stepped in a huge way. He went 3-11 and 8 touchdowns in their win over Erie County in the state semifinals. He's been great. And here's a fun fact for you. The only game this week with a matchup of state champion coaches. Terry Crawford at Abbott won in 2015, and then Homer Matlock took Westbrook to a title last year.
That's a good point.
Wow.
So it is a really fascinating game there. Westbrook and Abbott. Yeah, and by the way, the other thing, and maybe we're just going to bury ourselves here. The only preseason number 1 versus number 2.
Yeah.
Because Westbrook was 1 and Abbott was 2.
Yep.
I'm fairly certain that's the case. What was Franklin ranked? Like
One.
third? 'Cause they're
I feel like they were.
no.
I
I think
thought
they
we had
started like
Franklin one.
third.
Because they went up, right? They went up
moved
to.
up.
They went up to
Brock
D1.
started number
Oh,
one.
that's right.
We would need to look up.
And then I think Lorena was number 2.
That it might be. Yeah, it might be Lorena since they're the defending champs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
I
makes
bet that's
sense.
what happened.
Okay.
Um.
Interesting.
So yeah, number 1 versus number 2. And by the way, they finished the year number 1, number 2. Although they flipped. Abbott finished the year number 1.
Yeah.
But anyway, all that. Okay.
Oh.
On to my.
By the way, Doug Warren doesn't have a title.
Nope. That was Weldon Elms when Wimberley won it.
That's right. Okay. Interesting.
Anyway,
Wild.
I looked up that fun fact because I was like, this is interesting. Anyway, all right. My next pick. Oh,
We got 2, so you don't have to stress that much.
I know. All right. Friday morning. Let's go to the aforementioned Doug Warren as the Carthage Bulldogs take on the Wimberley Texans.
Okay.
Wimberley survived you guys never gonna believe this, but Cuero played a crazy game.
Right.
And I thought what they did in the second half was really impressive.
Yes.
They hit the Jets in the second half, and the offense really came alive. Johnny Ball, that running back, is fun to watch. Cody Stover, their quarterback, they don't. He's a sophomore. I want to say this respectfully. They do not ask him to do everything they would have asked Cash McCollum to do.
Sure.
He's not a 3-year starter, stuff
Right.
like that. But what he is a freaking gamer.
Yeah.
He does what he does what the game needs. He comes up with big plays. And the defense got hit, but they came up with big plays at the key moments. They are bend, don't break. It's bend, don't break. That's their real game plan here. Is Carthage mortal?
Yeah. Right.
That's the question, right? Because
They
last
showed
week,
it last week.
it's
But
funny,
did they get it out last week?
because
too?
last
Yeah.
week, and this is true, Saturday morning,
Yeah.
or Saturday we came in here to work on our state championship preview. TexasFootball.com/state came out work on our state championship preview, and I walked up to you and I was like, "Have we developed a narrative for what happened to Carthage yet? Like, have we figured that out?" We texted Gabe Brooks, who was at the game, Carthage super fan, and essentially, I think what we landed on was they turned the ball over a bunch.
Mhm.
Glen Rose played a whale of a game, and Carthage found a way to win.
Right.
I think Glen Rose mishandled a snap.
I think Glen Rose. It sounds like, from what I understand, I got to go back and watch the game. It sounds like Glen Rose was perfect until the worst possible moment.
I was fixing to
Which
say,
is what
I
it
mean,
takes to beat Carthage.
Yeah, I went back and watched a good portion of it. The cards fell right because Glen Rose really beat them that entire game until they get to midfield and legitimate. I mean, it wasn't. It would be different if the fumble was Carthage literally lit someone up and forced it. They just, the running back and
Dropped the
quarterback for Glen
exchange.
Rose dropped the exchange.
on the mesh,
and
yeah.
it's one of those things. Did Carthage do a great job to recover it? Absolutely. Did Carthage find a way to win? Absolutely. But I think that at least settles the mortality conversation.
I will just say this. At the very least, I think we learned that there are plays to be made against this Carthage defense for the first time all year. Maybe there are plays to be made. Maybe there's a blueprint, and maybe Wimberley can exploit that. Can they also contain the Carthage offense, which really didn't, aside from turnovers, didn't have too much trouble last
Sure.
week? So
Right.
that's the real question in this one. It's also Scott Surratt going for title number 9, and Doug Warren go for title number 1. It's a fascinating ball game. I'm really excited about Carthage Wimberley.
Yeah. Same. My concern would be Scott Surratt versus a sophomore quarterback in AT&T. Right. That'd be my biggest concern.
Seems oof.
Yeah. So it feels like Bill Belichick versus a rookie, where it's just like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I can figure this out.
Yeah,
We'll see,
that's the question.
but
We'll see.
that's my
It-
that's
yeah,
my
that's
question.
big.
But here's
That's
the-
big.
here's
Welcome
the
to the
other
league,
thing, though.
rookie energy.
Here's the other thing, though. Carthage is the favorite,
Mhm.
and Wimberley probably is like, yeah, that rules. Cool.
Sure.
Yeah, because I honestly think that you could have a really good argument that 90% of people thought Cuero was the favorite last week.
Yeah, I picked Cuero.
I did too.
Absolutely. So I am very interested in that one. That's how we kick off Friday. All right, I get one more pick here, and it is I'm going to go, if there is a hipster game, I'm going to go here. We're going to kick it all off 11 a.m. Wednesday in the 1A Division II title game. The Benjamin Mustangs and the Lorraine Bulldogs, if I can type that, in another fantastic matchup, and the only rematch in the state championship game. This is a Week 6 game. These two teams played. Benjamin went to Lorraine and beat Lorraine 61-30. Now you're probably thinking, okay, it's a 31-point game on the road 3 months ago. Why are you interested in this one? Two things. One, I think Lorraine had some injuries in that game, so that's part of it. Two, it is the closest anyone's played Benjamin this year. Benjamin has 45 to every other one of their opponents except Lorraine. Lorraine's the team that has played them the closest. If you are showing up for one reason, you show up for the Grayson Rigdon show.
Yeah.
Grayson Rigdon, of course, was the star of the Strawn State Championship game last year.
As a freshman, he was the
freshman,
MVP.
He was the best player, he was the MVP, offensive MVP. He transfers to Benjamin in the offseason, and he's going to be the best player on the field. Lorraine has a two-headed monster back there. Davian Walthall is kind of their do-it-all star on both sides of the ball. They've also got a great running back in A.J. Williams. They're going to keep the ball on the ground. How much has that gap closed? How much is it narrowed? That's the real question in this one. I think Benjamin's got to be your favorite. They've been wire-to-wire number one in Dave Campbell's Texas football, and they fundamentally have not looked mortal. The closest they've looked to mortal is when they played Lorraine, which is what makes this so fascinating and a good way to kick off the weekend. So I'm taking Benjamin Lorraine with my fourth and final pick. What is your fourth and final pick, Mademoiselle Pickle, and therefore making the decision for Ish?
I'm going to go with Aledo College Station, 5A Division I. I am looking forward to this one because of what I saw from College Station's defense last week. College Station, that was a Vets team.
Last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this College Station team has given me heartburn a couple of times this year because they'll do that thing where they'll mess around at the first and then they'll end up really pulling it out. But one, it makes for an exciting game. If we're talking about vibes, that's a team that I feel like you can never count out regardless of, like, there will come a time where if Aledo got ahead by enough, I would count it out. But if they're only up by 21, this College Station team has done a lot more to come back than that.
Yep.
I will say that Aledo, I've watched a ton of Aledo football this year, and they are a very fun team to watch. Haas Haney has been absolutely outstanding. But where College Station has the advantage is in the trenches. They are a lot bigger. Aledo is missing a huge key part of their offensive line. So if you match up that College Station defensive line with how big they are and Aledo's offensive line having some injury, then there's a good chance that they can stop the run a little bit, which is something that a lot of people cannot do against Aledo.
Let me ask you: is College Station the biggest underdog at state this week? Maybe Lorraine against Benjamin, but
yes,
I'd say so.
I would say yes. From a brand name perspective,
I mean, this is an 11-time champ or 10-time champion. I don't want to get ahead of myself. 10-time champion in Aledo.
Yeah.
And, what they did last week defensively against Longview. I know there's weather, obviously.
This also is only the second state rematch that we have.
Yeah.
Because this was the first title for College Station the last time Aledo lost at state.
That's right. And then, North Shore and Duncanville, the other one.
Yeah.
Aledo's concerned about that defensive line for College Station. They're big.
It's a good defensive line.
Well, and that's the other thing is, too, when you look at Aledo, then they do have they're very good at, if they can't get their run game going, they do have the options on the outside. But I think the College Station defensive backs have shown that they are playmakers, and that's how they've stayed in the game half the time, is that defense being as good as it is. So they're going to have to figure out a way to score against the Aledo defense that has also looked exceptional, as of late especially. But I think they can challenge them up front.
I'm interested to see what Haas Haney's got, the Aledo quarterback, who's been so good for them. And yeah, I think Aledo's a pretty clear favorite in this game, but College Station, but Aledo was also a pretty clear favorite in 2017 in the state championship game when they played College Station.
Yep.
And Marquez Perez pulled the rabbit out of his hat.
Yep.
So,
Sonic the Hedgehog.
I just like the fact that College Station is just never out of a game. They just find a way in their bag of tricks. So that at least, if you're underdog, that's all you can ask for at that point.
Alrighty. Last one. Give me 2A D2. Give me
Whoa!
Give me Hoffman back at state.
I didn't see that one coming.
We have a return to state by a very angry Kevin Hoffman, who does not like the last time he was in AT&T.
Doesn't like the last 2 years.
Does not the last, especially last year when he didn't give back.
None of these players have ever played a state championship game.
Yeah.
They've never even been on the sideline. He told them when they were freshmen that they had to go sit in the stands.
Yeah. Like, look, this is a return to, I think, one of Mart's better teams, which was, as much as I like the Roger L. Freeman teams, they were very one-dimensional. It was
a lot.
It was sledgehammer.
Make the whole plane out of Roger.
Sledgehammer Roger L. Freeman, which is fine. But as we saw in that Windthorst game, if they can shut you down in the trenches, you have no other option. Jonah Ross can throw the ball. Their new quarterback is a option in both categories. He has over, I think, 1,000 yards on the ground and 2,000 yards through the air. So this is a two-dimensional offense again. Yeah.
Let me look into the camera. Jonah Ross has got that dog in him.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And he plays safety.
Yep.
And he comes screaming out of the secondary to run support too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Monte Swainer as well as defensive end. Mm-hmm. He is gonna. I don't know. I'm very much looking forward to seeing Mart back at state because, like you mentioned, it's been a while.
By their standards.
By their standards. But as Pickle mentioned,
for P&G, it's been a while.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
For Mart, it's been like 3 years.
Exactly. Hey, that's a long time. But as Pickle mentioned, these kids were young when they were freshmen when they last were at state. The program was, and so what happens? And then you obviously get Albany. Like, this is a team that I feel like Albany every single year.
Preseason number 1.
We've been like, oh, this is the year Albany gets there, and for them to finally break through. I'm very fascinated to see this coaching matchup. I'm very fascinated to see what Albany looks like now that they are here, right? Cole Chapman as well. I did the 3 players to watch on both teams. Cole Chapman on both sides of the ball for them at quarterback and safety is going to be very fascinating to watch because if they can get – I'm wondering – because my thing is defensively I think he might be more valuable than offensively because I think offensively you just got to take what Mart gives you. Defensively, shutting down that Mart offense, and he's going to be counted on as the last line of defense, probably in multiple situations. And stopping those big plays from Mart is going to be pivotal if Albany wants to pull this out.
Yeah, Hoffman told us he was like this group of now seniors when they were freshmen and they won the last time in 2019. They said that their JV went 2-8, like they only won 2 games. So a lot of times teams will say, all right, hey, we're bringing everybody, like everyone gets a helmet. You're not going to play, but you're going to stand on the sideline. He said, no, we put them straight in off season. He goes, I wasn't having that. We had to toughen these boys up. So he was like, if they came to the game, they were in the stands. It's been forever since a Mart senior class hasn't at least played in a state championship game.
Denny Faith looking for that elusive state championship. He's the 420th coach in Texas high school football history, but he has not got that crown. He was personally victimized by Rashad Paul a couple of times.
Yeah.
They run the ball really well. Coyle and to me, Albany's really at their best when they've got offensive balance. When Lefevre and Hill are running the ball, and then they're able to, and then that opens things up for Cole Chapman. Because if Cole Chapman's just gonna, he's not just a drop back pass, and it's like
right.
If they're in 3rd and 11, that's a bad down and distance for them. They need that balance. You know what I mean? Mart's offensive line and defensive line play, it was described to me by a rival coach this week, compared to last year, is night and day. He said they're so much better up front this year, and that's going to be really interesting to watch how they match up against a really good offensive defensive line for Albany, which has Zane Wagner, who is a monster out there. So keep an eye on that one. It'll be a fun game on Wednesday night at AT&T Stadium. There it is. There is your UIL state draft. Ish took South Oak Cliff, Port Neches Groves, DeSoto, Vandegrift, Gunner, Poth, and Albany Mart. Pickle took China Spring, Bernie, Brock, Franklin, Westbrook, Abbott, and Aledo, College Station. I took Duncanville, North Shore, Hawley, Refugio, Carthage, Wimberley, and Benjamin, Lorraine. I think we can all agree I won the draft.
You can let the people decide.
I think let's just say that I won the draft. That's fine. That's just that's it. That's it.
I mean, you guys let me have my first and second pick, so I don't know.
You had DeSoto Vandy number 2 on your board?
Absolutely.
That's a lie. You literally said that you had.
I was on. Oh no, you're right. So I had my first and third.
Liar!
That was my third. That was my
Come
third.
at me. # receipts.
That was my third. So
I ain't letting Schmale get away with none of that.
Let's go over to Ashley Pickle for America's second favorite segment. Final thoughts.